You ever notice how many modern women use this expression that men are intimidated by their independence and they don't want to come home to an independent woman? Well, I'm here to just clarify this for you ladies once again. Men are not intimidated by you, period. Simply because men have the monopoly on force. What do I mean by that? Men do not feel intimidated by anything that they can literally kill with their bare hands. And women don't understand this because they can only see it from their perspective. Literally, every man that they see and are surrounded by, they know that man can literally end their existence with their bare hands. So, in essence, that's all they can see life from a perspective where they can see where they are the weaker of the two sexes. So they see everything as intimidation, where they see that they have, an inkling of strength. I don't know. Intimidated. They're just not interested. And most of the time, they just find you either comical or frustrating. But the majority of times, men just don't want to deal with it. But if you're listening to a few of these conversations online, and gentlemen, I know you've heard them many, many times, the truth eventually comes to the surface. And that is simply this. Most of these women are just operating from a place of fear. That's all. And that's what we're going to dive into today, my friends. There was this one video that we're going to dive into from the Fresh and Fit podcast. And it was a back and forth discussion between two guests. And it just sums up perfectly how women feel. And the gentleman explained to her perfectly how men actually feel. I'm going to add to the conversation because I think there were a few missing gaps simply because she just wouldn't shut up. She just kept interrupting him. So I'm here to fill in those gaps. But gentlemen, this is going to make for a very interesting discussion. And more importantly, you get to use the information I'm giving you here for you to explain to women when they come back with this crap. Okay? So let's get into it. So my friends, like this video on the way in. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, it is now Saturday 29th. Happy Thanksgiving, my friends. For all of my American brothers and sisters, happy Thanksgiving. I will be hanging out with my American brothers and sisters over here this evening. I've been invited to a Thanksgiving dinner, so I look forward to that. Haven't had turkey in a while, so yeah, this would be good. So happy Thanksgiving, guys. Pick up the Content Creators Toolkit, my friends. The Black Friday sale is here, and I'm giving you guys a 30% discount. Okay? Always remember, for this New Year's, every single one of you should be creating content. Don't just be a consumer, be a creator. Okay? I'm going to refer to my notes again because I really want to hit this video from a very detailed perspective so that you guys can get a lot of information from it. Okay? So let's have a listen.
Why are men so intimidated by the idea of coming home to a independent woman?
We're not intimidated. It's
I
a headache.
think that an independent woman, like independence is an attractive quality.
No.
How would you define independence?
I mean, in simple terms, a woman who doesn't need a man, but wants a man and wants to be also, I mean, I can provide in my own ways and the man will provide in his own ways. However that dynamic works, it'll work.
Okay. So you said a woman who doesn't need a man, but wants a man.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by, I'm trying to understand, what do you mean by not?
I mean, I'm not a child. I don't need a parent, you know? I want to be in a partnership. I want somebody who will, if I'm younger than him, for example, I want him to strive to raise me to his level.
All righty. Yeah. Let's dive into this one. I don't need a man, but I want a man. So let's respond to that shit. She's basically saying, I don't want to rely on a man. That's pretty much it. She don't want to rely on a man that she can depend on. But it's not because she's powerful. It's because she's scared. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you clearly. Even though this gentleman says it as well, I'm going to freaking clarify it even more. And even though she admits it straight up, she haven't even realized that that's what she said. Let's take a listen.
Just like I feel like a top tier men are drawn to people who they want to be their peers eventually. They like lifting people up. And I think that in a relationship, it should be the same.
Well, I think for me, I think you're viewing it as a woman. I think it's hard to view it as a man. I think it's a reality thing because there's certain things that you value that men wouldn't value. So for example, let's say you made $200,000 a year, right? And your man made $50,000 a year, you would eventually want him to get there. Is that fair to say, ladies?
Absolutely.
And if he was lazy and he didn't want to get there, he wanted to stay at 50,000, would that be a turnoff? If he didn't want to get better?
It's not about laziness. Here's another example. If I wanted to study something and I knew that I wouldn't be able to work for the next 8 years, medical school, for example, then if my man is willing to support me, I want him to eventually be happy with my success.
Yeah.
So this is where the usage of the man must be applied to her. In other words, she don't only want the man's income, money, but she also wants his time and energy applied to building her in order for her to always have this sense of security. The only time a woman needs security is when she's scared of an outcome that she wouldn't see favorable. So that basically means that she wants to secure herself. Remember, gentlemen, it's always about survival for women, right? But feminism have also freaking pushed something else into the equation, which is you should be better than a man. You could be equal to or better than a man. But she knows that she's not going to be able to get there if she has a man that's more powerful than her. So he must assist her into getting that incredible power. That's what she's saying. You see, women operate on two different softwares, man. This is where the freaking dilemma occurs. I've explained this before. She's working on her biological software, on evolutionary biology software, I should say. And this is simply that she wants a man who's bigger, stronger, more intellectually capable, everything. She wants a man who's better than her. And that in its essence should actually make her feel secure because she has a man who's protecting and providing for her, who's better than her. Within any of her vulnerable states, that man is there for her. But feminism have thrown fear into the equation and told her, hey, that man might freaking leave you. And if he's beating you or he leaves you or he's cheating on you, you should have what he has in order for you to say, I don't need you anymore and I'm out. So she's operating on this fear factor of the worst possible outcome. Just so you guys understand this, man. And this is a pathology in a lot of these feminist women that we have nowadays. So what you have is what you call fear-based independence. A worldview shaped around worst-case scenario. Let's proceed.
So let me finish my example, and I want to answer your question. So the point is that you guys want a man to get on your level. So guys, if a woman was making $50,000 and you're making $200,000, do you want her to make $200,000? Is that a priority for you guys?
No. Not a priority.
So you see, guys, they don't view it that way. They you gotta think about it. Men are conditioned to protect and provide for thousands of years. So men are not looking for a teammate who can do what they do. You know, it's like the best way I can break it down.
But it's not about doing. Sorry for interrupting you. I apologize. But it's not about doing what they do. It's about doing me and being supported and
So here's
supported emotionally. And
here's a problem. A man with options can choose. And unfortunately, you're the worst option. No disrespect. No disrespect. Because here's the reality. There's two guys, right? There's a guy that makes $500,000. All things are equal. They're both handsome. They're both tall. They're both successful in their own sense, right? One is a successful teacher making $50,000. One is a successful doctor making $500,000. Which one is more attractive?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I blinked out a second ago.
Okay, cool. So,
in other words, this is her way of not even listening to the man. The data that he just freaking tried to download into her brain stopped right here. Boom. It wasn't able to get into the damn hard drive. Can't compute. Yeah, that's how freaking deep the programming is. It blows my mind that I literally just demonstrated to you, gentlemen, a woman's brain short-circuiting. Women don't realize that men do not think like them. We do not need the same things that women need. And because they fail to understand men, the only software that they can understand is the one that has been implanted into them. In other words, gentlemen, there is no empathy. Empathy is understanding how the other person feels and thinks. None of that is in a modern woman's head. None. None of these feminists think like that. Their programming is designed to freaking eliminate and delete any other type of information that comes into her brain that opposes her programming.
There's two guys and everything is equal. Okay.
Thank you.
One of them makes 50,000. One of them makes 500,000. Which one is more attractive? Everything is equal.
It's okay to say the truth.
I know.
It's okay to say the truth, right?
Listen.
The feminism in her won't allow it.
No. I'll answer honestly.
I want an equal partner.
I'm just as mesmerized by fancy, shiny things as any other person is. I find that sometimes men who have a lot become entitled.
Listen. I just said everything was equal.
Okay, then yeah, for sure the man who has more because my life would be better.
Because you value that more. So what you got to understand is women who think independence, you like that in men.
Yeah.
A man being independent, a man not needing you, a man to be able to take care of his stuff on his own. That's what you value in men. Men don't want that in women. Because the reality of the matter is, when a woman is really turned on by a man, when a woman is really in love with a man, when she really respects him, she becomes utterly dependent upon him because she does not want him to leave.
So here's what I don't like. My biggest fear is to lose my independence and to rely on somebody else.
And know where that comes from? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I mean, I've been independent since I was 18, and I think it's a very important thing to me.
I know, but where does that fear come from?
I don't know. I don't want to rely on anyone. I wasn't brought up to rely on anyone, and I don't think
exactly that came. So what happened in childhood? Either your experience showed you, or somebody communicated that to you. Because you're talking about, I have a fear. You can't live your life according to fear. Imagine me saying, I have a fear of crashing on a plane. I can never get on the plane.
Damn.
So your whole relationship movement is based upon a fear. That's unhealthy. And so what I've noticed is a lot of women, when they move in a relationship, it's based out of fear. You can't live your life based upon fear.
I think it's unhealthy to put yourself in situations where you could potentially be left with nothing.
But that's the mindset.
That's the fear.
You see how you're living your life? You're living your life worst case scenario thinking.
There you go, gentlemen. Worst case scenario. Fear. This brother broke it down to the point where even a 5-year-old can understand this. She's living life on fear. And when I told you from the beginning, these so-called strong, independent women are living from a point of fear. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. I hope it's now clear. She said it. My biggest fear is losing my independence. I don't want to rely on anyone. I'm scared of being stuck. Relationships can turn dangerous. Those are the 4 freaking key metrics that women turn to show their fear. Their fear of getting into a relationship. Man, I've done 13 different businesses. I've been hurt by 2 partners where they've ripped me off. Does it stop me from getting into another business? No, because I don't run my life from fear. I know that everything in life is a risk. Everything. And if I want to freaking get from here to there, I have to take the risk of someone else probably hitting me with a car, something falling on me, whatever the hell it is. Anything can happen. Something breaks off a building and drops on my head. I mean, you could name 1,000 different ways for a human being to die. But we get out there to walk from here to there because that's life. But for some reason, feminism have told women that you must fear the one thing that you want. The one thing that is responsible for the survival of the human species. Fear that. Think about that shit. So the bottom line is, these aren't the words of a strong woman. These are the words of a feeble, weak individual. So this idea that they're strong and independent is bullshit, because anything that is strong does not operate from a point of fear. A strong person looks fear in the freaking face and say, I'm going to do it anyway. That's what strength is. So these women are always operating from a survival posture. And this, my friends, is the first software that is running on today's modern woman. It is not the biological software, which is let me find an appropriate mate and work with him, be his helpmate, create some beautiful kids, pass on our DNA. No, So this is something called a fear-based independence, and I've listed them out here. A worldview shaped around worst-case scenario. So if your whole dating strategy is based around what if something bad happens, you're doomed. You might as well just pack it up, buy some cats, die alone. And you will never, ever, ever have a fully functional, healthy relationship because every day you will be walking on eggshells and wondering if your partner is doing something wrong. Imagine that. Every day you think, oh, your partner's doing something wrong. Oh, he's late from work. Oh, he's cheating. Oh, he didn't spend that money on me. Where else is he spending? Oh, I don't see that. It'll be constant. Imagine if a man's saying, hey, I have a fear of flying. I'm not getting on a plane. Or I have a fear of driving. I'm not getting in a car. You imagine that. What would you look at that man and say? What a little... Exactly. He has a mental disorder or he's a pussy. So it's the same logic and the same paralysis. Now, I want you now to watch this woman's demeanor and watch how this fear pushes a woman into her masculine state, masculine energy. So this will show up in a number of different ways, right? And listen, they're not physical. It's energetically. It shows up as controlling the conversation, debating everything, interrupting, pushing her dominance forward, not willing to relinquish any power whatsoever, insisting on steering her relationship, not the man, her, refusing influence, and she's always ready to leave. That's always the last conclusion. I'm out. I'm ready to leave. These are the women that you will always have a problem with in relationships, my friend. You make sure that you do not get involved with women like this. So what you'll see in this conversation, you'll see that, oh, I want a man to lead. But everything in her behavior says the absolute opposite. Let's keep watching.
Imagine me saying, I don't want to start a business because if I open a business, I can lose all my money. Because that's a risk of starting a business. You can put all your time, energy, effort, and money and resources into a business and lose it all. So what happens is a lot of women have seen either from divorces in their family, either from their mom whining and complaining, or they've seen a woman being in an unhealthy situation, and now their fear is the worst case possible scenario.
So here's another worst case possible scenario.
But do you not see how living like that is a problem?
I do understand. I completely agree, but I do think that there's a place for responsibility. And women in relationships, because there is a power dynamic, oftentimes can be put in situations where they can't get out.
So here's a problem. You said oftentimes. That is your personal experience.
It's not my personal experience. All of my relationships have ended amicably, and I respect all of my exes. I've never been abused, thank God. I've never had any negative situation like that where I relied on someone.
Her mouth says femininity. Her behavior says masculinity. Let me know in the comment section, gentlemen, because this is what I feel. Just combative, just bleh. Even though it sounds sweet. It just sounds like a woman who's strong. But in essence, do you want to put up with this on a daily basis? Hell no. Hell no. You see, I know most of you will say, yeah, it's masculine. So all I'm saying to you ladies that are watching me, men don't miss this contradiction. It's clear as day. For a lot of you women, you might just say, oh, she's strong and she has in her opinions. No, this is programming that is just vile for men. Vile. Doesn't matter how beautiful she is. Men will beat it to death. Pound that punani, but dealing with her as a wife? Hell no. Most men won't argue with her. They'll just walk away quietly. They'll lead her on, take all of her good, fertile young years, but never marry her. Make her feel like she's in control. But in essence, at the end of the day, men control access to relationships. She might can control the punani, but at the end of the day, that it's the man that has to get on his knees.
Never.
So let me tell you why this is your personal experience. Because when it comes to divorce, if you can look it up right now, we have all the data. Women divorce men at higher rates than men divorce women. 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. We have Google right now. We can go ahead and pull it up. So the reality of women being left by men is a misnomer. It is feminine mythology.
I'm not talking about. My concern is not being left by a man. My concern is jumping head on into a relationship where I'm feeling like I'm being supported and helped, eventually losing my independence because I'm relying on him. I don't need to work if somebody's paying my rent.
What does that mean?
So I'm explaining. Wait, I lost my train of thought. What did you say a second ago?
Once again, understand that she's not here trying to have a discussion with him. All she's doing is downloading what's in her freaking software. She don't even know what he said or care to know what he says. She's not learning anything. Unfortunately, this gentleman is only entertaining and educating the individuals that are listening outside this podcast. But her, nothing is going in. Nothing.
What I said is that
women are not leaving men.
Your fear, you literally said the fear.
Oh, okay. I remember what I was talking about. Okay. My fear isn't that I won't be able my fear isn't that my man will leave me. My fear is that I won't be able to leave because I'll be put in a situation where I can't leave.
Okay. So that fear is based upon a worst case scenario. You're living your life on a worst case scenario. If you take that energy into business, you'll never be successful.
But
if you tell
relationships...
let me finish. If you take that energy into finances, you'll never have any money. If you take that energy into friendship, you'll never have any friends. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that if you're living your life based upon a scenario that a fearful thing can happen, that's on you. But the wise thing to be is to be like, okay, that's a possibility. So how can I, as a woman, find the right kind of man who will support me and help me not make that happen? There's no way possible you're going to find a guy where 100% of the time he will never do anything wrong. So life is a risk. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Number one, I do think that being a woman in the world, you do have to live not in fear. Maybe fear is the wrong word to use, but you do have to be very, very conscious and cautious of all the dangers around you. And relationships can turn dangerous at a certain point. That's number one. I'm not saying I'm living out of fear. Not at all.
How many times she said, my biggest fear is. Then she describes her fear. And now she says, I'm not living out of fear. Oh, gosh. Gentlemen, remember, never listen to what a woman says. Always observe what she responds to.
Every relationship that I've been in.
What does that mean, though? You just said relationships can turn dangerous at a certain point. No one's very fascinating about this, what you just shared. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by dangerous? You mean domestic violence?
Also.
Okay, so let's talk about domestic violence. You know what's fascinating? Mm-hmm. Do you know domestic violence in lesbian couples are the highest of all couples?
I mean, whether it's lesbians or straights or anything, it doesn't matter. Yeah, being in a relationship where you're relying 100% where you're codependent is unhealthy, in my opinion.
Codependent.
Respectfully.
See, this is what happens when you create straw mans. When you make an extreme. So on one end of the extreme is codependency, where I have nothing without you. Another end of the extreme is where you're probably at. Independency. I am without you. But the healthy medium is interdependency, is that I could exist without you, but I not only want you, but I need you.
So can I say...
Let me finish. Because I'm be honest with you. Right now, the energy that you're on is masculine energy.
Oh, God, no.
No, why? Because you're comfortable. And this is the problem. You're comfortable with having to usurp your way.
See, now she's going to try to minimize that one simple point because this is part of the feminist playbook. Oh, no, don't say it. Yeah. So when you state the obvious, they try to minimize what you just said by mocking it, right? Reality of it is, lady, you are very masculine in your demeanor. But back to this codependent, independent, and interdependent. We all have to try to reach that point where we're interdependent with our relationship. That basically means that, yes, we could be okay on our own, but we're better together. That's what the focus should be. We are better together. I understand where her fear is coming from. I understand why she should protect herself because, yeah, there are some dangerous men out there. There are asshole men out there as well. We can't deny that. Even though this is a male's advocate channel, I understand that there are asshole men out there, and I would want my daughter protected against those men as well. And that's the reason why I train my daughters to have their own. Make sure they have their own. If you need an out, you have an out financially. Enter the relationship with something and make sure that you always have an out. But I'm not training them to give up or to have fear. I am training them to make sure that they have the ability to understand simply that they are better with a good man. Because independence in a world that requires two people to survive is much, much easier than being out there on your own. You will burn through your resources twice as fast. And if you are at that stage in life where you don't have the ability to replenish those funds before you reach a point where you don't have the energy to push it back or to get it back, you're looking at a pretty dismal life. And I want women to be comfortable. But here's the problem. Women project female psychology on men, and this creates a serious issue. Most of them assume that men think like women. We don't. Very different. They admire ambition, drive, and independence in men and think that men should see those same traits in women as attractive. We really don't. Women push their career and their status onto men that, hey, look at me. Men really don't give a shit because he knows his primary role is to protect and provide for her. That's what he worked his ass off for since he was freaking a teenager right through until his late 30s. In these day and age, most men can barely get by on his own at this point because the economy is so shit. That's why it's very important for both parties to come together earlier in life and start building together earlier so that their burn rate for resources is significantly smaller and they can build more resources together. This isn't rocket science, my friends. So I want to look at the independence paradox, but let's listen to a little bit more what she says.
So a lot of times there's no, when it is a relationship, when women say they want equality, there's no equality. There's no two kings in one castle. There's no two presidents in one country. There's no two CEOs of one company. There's always a leader and somebody submits to your leadership. You want to be in charge.
I don't. I absolutely don't. I will say my dating style, I love a man who will support me, lift me up, help me. But at the same time, I'm not going to relinquish all of my power.
You can't demand that a man leads and then you don't want to follow. You cannot demand that and expect a relationship to freaking work. You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. I want a man to lead, but I don't want to relinquish all of my power. What the hell does that mean? That means that you don't want to freaking follow. Because someone who follows basically says, where are we going? And follow. There can only be one leader. I don't understand why women don't understand how stupid they sound when they freaking say these things. So I want to explain the independence paradox. This woman wants a masculine man, earning 6 figures, confident, successful, ambitious, somebody that could support her, right? Able to lead and capable of lifting her up. But on the other hand, she also wants total control. The option to leave at any time. Full independence. She don't want to be vulnerable at any point. She don't want to be influenced by this man. No trust fall. And she don't want to be interdependent. Make that shit make sense. You understand the contradiction? Those two groups I just mentioned to you are totally opposite to each other. What she wants in a man, but what she wants as a woman. So my friends, that's not a freaking relationship. That's a constant power struggle. And which man wants to go through that shit? Which man? On a daily basis. No men want to do that. At least not the men that she wants. Because if a high-value man, he wants to focus on creating more business, building for his family. He don't want to have to come home and deal with a freaking quarrelsome wife that every day don't want to work with him. He has to constantly drag her. She's not following him. He has to drag her, fighting every day. All men want is peace. That's it. Peaceful wife. There's the kids. Please. Take care of the kids. Make sure they're secure. Make sure they're contented with life. Let's bring them up together. Listen to what I'm saying. Let's move together. And here's the thing, ladies. Men with options, that's all they want. Peace. Anyway, listen, I'm going to lock it off there, my friends. I'm going to put the link to this video in the description. I think this was a great insight into the female and this whole idea behind the independent woman narrative. All this is scared young girls who just don't understand how life works. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe, book a session if you need any help. Please like the video on the way out. And until tomorrow, my friends, remember, whenever in doubt, always ask an older man. I'll see you soon. Cheers.